My mic was muted. Hello and welcome to the For We Are Many podcast. My name is Rob, and we have the infamous Lord Sterling with us today.
Hello. Hello. Glad to be here. Glad to be here, Rob. Very
I'm glad
jealous
you're
of your
here.
activities last night. Where were
Bro,
you? Yo.
I was at the Marquee in Tempe, Arizona. A kill switch.
Wild. Wild.
It was, it was sold out, bro. The crowd, I think they
Yeah.
oversold it, man. The crowd didn't even fit in the theater part of the venue. But
So jealous.
it was so fun. For those of you that are fans of Killswitch, the opening band is the current band of former Killswitch singer Howard Jones, and he joined them at the end of their set to, rock us all. But anyway, it's been a while since we've had a current event stream on Facebook.
It won't be on there long. Let's be realistic here.
if it does go down yet again, you can find us on Twitch or YouTube. Trisha will be joining us hopefully soon. I guess let me give you a brief overview of what we're going to talk about tonight. There is the trucker convoy in Canada, which we're probably going to dive fairly deep into that because, to be honest, I have been more or less ignorant to that situation, but I don't have an overall opinion yet. But I am concerned about some right-wing elements that I see. Hello, Emily. I guess I should put the chat up, shouldn't I?
Hello, James and Emily.
There we go. Anyway, so we're going to talk about the truckers. We're going to talk about Kim Potter. She was sentenced today. Nowhere near long enough. We'll talk about that more when we get to it. This was only like 2 hours ago. Biden said in an address that he is convinced Russia will invade Ukraine, but still hopes diplomacy will prevail. Biden. The Justice Department is limiting the ability of people in prison to apply for compassionate release. We'll look more into that. Cruz and other GOP senators, some of whom were probably in their positions when the no-fly list started, right? But they're opposing the no-fly list for convicted unruly passengers because it would be wrong to treat those opposed to wearing masks like terrorists.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Nothing. Got nothing.
All right. The Education Department is forgiving $415 million in student debt for 16,000 borrowers who were misled by colleges. This brings the total amount of forgiveness funds at approximately $2 billion. But as we know, it's like a $1.5 trillion almost student loan debt total. So it's nowhere near enough.
It's crumbs for the
Exactly.
camera.
Right. We're definitely going to talk about that. And then we're going to look into the Ukraine situation overall. I'm just going to try to do an overview, which is difficult because there's been so much, and so much of it's bullshit.
Well, I could use an overview because I don't know shit.
Well, I mean, a lot of it comes down to um, treaties that were signed by NATO and by Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, so like if you look further back than that, there was treaties when NATO was formed about how close it could get to the Soviet Union. When the Soviet Union fell, um, like these treaties were renegotiated with Russia, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the point is, though, that as time went, NATO got closer and closer to Russian borders. And we've been in violation of those treaties signed after the fall of the Soviet Union for like 10 years now. Um, that being said, I don't have all the details on what has happened or why. I've been quite busy. Uh, work, you know. But I'm just going to scroll through some of these CNN live updates. It should be great. I say that sarcastically because, CNN. But
No, they're going to be amazing. Riveting.
so riveting. Apparently, there is a. Okay, so first of all of this noise that US media is making about Russian buildup of forces is all on Russian soil, right? Like, we have troops in Eastern Europe. Why?
Why?
Anyway, that's just kind of a side note. But apparently, Russia is now amassing helicopters in Russia. A new helicopter unit was spotted in satellite imagery.
Oh, bring it in.
I mean, I can show you the picture if you'd like, but it's literally just a satellite picture. Let me.
We need like Tom Clancy theme music going right now. Zoom in. Can you enlarge that? Oh. You can't. All right.
Those appear to be helicopters. I mean, but still, it's a Russian military base on Russian soil. What claim do we really have to say that that's a sign of anything?
Yeah.
Let's see. What do we got next? A Ukrainian official says it's impossible to know what exactly is going on in the thoughts of Vladimir Putin.
No shit.
Riveting coverage.
All right. I'll return.
All right. Does that mean it's just me now for a minute? Oh
Yeah.
shit. All right. Well,
Go with God.
let's see. Ukrainian presidential advisor Podolyak has told CNN it is impossible to say with certainty what exactly is going on in the thoughts of the Russian leader. His comments come on the heels of President Biden saying he's convinced Russian President Vladimir Putin has made the decision to invade Ukraine. He went on to note that Biden's stance is undoubtedly based on information from the intelligence community, saying it's not a matter of agreeing or disagreeing with the statements. He did say one should pay attention to the more important meaning in the words of President Biden. He confirmed that there is still a chance for diplomacy, and we will use this chance. So, I mean, it does seem on the surface that the Ukrainians are still trying to find a, I don't know why I said still, are at least keeping up the show of finding a diplomatic solution. But this has been an issue for years. We're talking about people who are ethnically Russian wanting to be a part of Russia. I don't know. Let me check the comments. Hello, Wade. Yeah, James, I don't know a whole lot about that, but I did see reference to it in a couple different things I was reading today. Um, but I was also seeing other reports that were saying there's no way it could have been Russia. I don't know. I haven't um, really been able to find anything to confirm that it was or wasn't Russia. But I agree with what Wade just said on YouTube. They have to keep the show to frame Russia as a villain. Thank you for joining us on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. All right. How do I make that go away? There we go. Sorry, I got distracted. Um, the U.S. House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, says the mayor of Kyiv conveyed the urgent concerns of the innocent people. While at the Munich Security Conference, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said she met with Kyiv Mayor Klitschko, who conveyed the urgent concerns of the innocent people of Kyiv under a threat of a Russian invasion, and said her congressional delegation reiterated America's support for the people of Ukraine and opposition to Putin's aggression. Um, but does people of Ukraine include the so-called Russian separatists that grew up there as Russians? They are Russian. Um, I don't know. Of course, there's two sides to the story, and I don't pretend to have all the answers. But it seems like getting involved in these affairs that have nothing to do to us, or nothing to do with us, rather, is not going to come to any good end. Um, but yeah, it's all just beating the war drums. And Biden said an uptick in Russian disinformation could be a pretext for war. But we are not. Are we not doing the same damn thing? Oh, Sterling, you're there.
What up?
Howdy. When did you come back? Did you make dinner that
Just now.
quick?
No. I fed the dog, though, and gave him his drugs.
Hmm.
There
Fair.
goes the headphone. And we're back.
Um, James said, "True that, Wade. It could have been someone down the street that wants to egg on terror," referring to the kindergarten with a missing wall, as James put it in the comments. But funny enough, at least as far as I've scrolled back, I don't even see any mention of that on here. But it seems, unless Russia has some really like bizarre um, shells that can that are self-guided, I guess, it seems very unlikely that the attack came from Russia. Again, I don't have all the answers, and I will blatantly admit that in the case of Ukraine. But there's a whole lot of beating the war drums. There's a whole lot of finger pointing. And as George Carlin would say, it's all bullshit. And it's bad for you.
I agree with that. It's poisonous. Mental trash.
Yeah, like I mean, I honestly don't even like want to keep reading on this. It's just like disheartening. Like literally everything is the U.S. pointing the finger at Russia. I mean, I guess I should have expected that out of CNN, but It seems like the international community is planning for war. So, of course, Russia's going to build up troops. I don't know. What do you got any input on Ukraine, Sterling?
I mean, honestly, no. They're gearing for war. Everybody's gearing for war. Everybody's gearing for acquisition is what they're gearing for. It's just acquisition. More machinery. I don't know.
More dead men for profit.
Yeah.
The point is that regardless of whether or not Russia is right in what they're doing, I think that we need to stay the fuck out of it.
Agreed. We don't need another Vietnam. We can't afford one, right? If
Right,
it's real,
or another
which
Afghanistan.
It's not, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess let's move on to the education department thing.
The education department. The school board.
I am going to put this link in the chat because I should have done that for the last one so you could at least see what I was seeing too. But $415 million in borrower defense claims for nearly 16,000 out of. Do we have a number for how many borrowers there are?
Do we?
I'm Googling. My neighbor dogs are barking and it's really distracting. I don't have a number of people, but I do have a number of dollars. 1.58 trillion as of November of last year.
Crumbs for the camera.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that brings total forgiveness to approximately $2 billion for approximately 107,000 borrowers. Does that even get those 107,000 borrowers out of debt? No. It was like $10,000 a piece, I think, which is still just crumbs for the camera. About 1,800 former DeVry University students will be forgiven $71.7 million after the Department of Education reviewed voluminous amounts of evidence. Surprise, they lied. Westwood College, they lied. ITT Technical Institute. I mean, fuck. Minnesota School of Business, Globe University, Corinthian Colleges, Maranello Schools of Beauty. They all lied. They were all for-profit institutions as well. It's worth to point out. That's what happens when you privatize education.
Hello, Bryce. We do read. What did ITT lie about?
I literally just closed that window. Hold on.
Is there a dog barking?
Dude,
Dog?
yes, that's what I was saying was distracting. It's been like constant. That is not my dog for the record.
Do we think the majority of Canadians support this protest?
It would seem that that is not the case because I mean the citizens came out and like started breaking it up themselves, like straight up stopped them. Um, in terms of ITT, all I am seeing is that the education department had determined that 16,000 people were defrauded by DeVry, ITT, and Minnesota School of Business. That is a different source, even. I'm not. Um, that's all I'm finding. Nearly 500,000 people have petitioned the department to forgive their loans under a statute known as borrower defense to repayment. Most attended colleges that went belly up, leaving the federal government to foot the bill for loan forgiveness. I remember that ITT was sued a few years back, as well as DeVry. That's where all this is coming from. Um, but I don't even remember exactly what it was specifically for, other than general fraud.
That's a nifty light bulb, James. I think Bryce would like some more detail on the specific lie here.
I mean, I don't have the detail on the specific lie.
Do you doubt that they did lie about something in particular, Bryce? Is what I would wonder. Because you're right, we
I
do
mean,
need more detailed accountability, right, in the information sphere around us because things get thrown around willy nilly. But we don't need to be so rigid to. I mean, if there's a general pattern, a general theme, we can see the cost of tuition rising exponentially without any good goddamn fucking reason, right? We can see all of this crushing us. Um, Finding out where and when specifically these parasitic organizations did something wrong, I guess that's a great idea. That's something we should do, but we all know they're doing it. I don't know why we shouldn't just turn it off, but it would be good to have some spreadsheets, some receipts. I agree. I do.
yeah, yeah.
I do.
And I mean, to be honest, I figured since it was a public lawsuit that there would be more information readily available on Google. But I believe that it was lying about tuition fees or like lying about guaranteed employment after school. Okay. Anyway, what's next? The U.S. Limiting compassionate release deals. That's a thing. Well, yeah, Natalie, that's part of what we were talking about. A lot of the loan forgiveness does go towards people who have loans at private universities. Um, that's kind of what we're getting at, though. They will literally lie to students to get them to take out massive amounts of fucking loans and then leave them on the hook for it. Anything for profit, right? That's what you get for private education. Nathan said, sounds like Fannie Mae. I would tend to agree with that. Federal prosecutors have been seeking to limit defendants' rights to win compassionate release from prison in plea negotiations across the country. A practice that advocates say undermines the intent of Congress and produces cruel outcomes. Two advocacy groups, Families Against Mandatory Minimums and the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, asked Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco on Tuesday to prohibit U.S. attorneys from including the pernicious language in plea agreements. In a copy of their letter exclusively provided to NPR, the group said at least 6 jurisdictions around the nation are using the provisions, either barring defendants from filing any motions for early release because of extraordinary medical or family conditions, or limiting them to only one such request and barring appeals. We understand that the Department of Justice has an interest in ensuring the finality of a sentence, but we fear that recent behavior by U.S. attorneys' offices place the interest of efficiency and finality above anything else, including the person's life and their rights under law. One 65-year-old man in Arizona fought for months to withdraw his guilty plea after realizing it included limits to his ability to seek compassionate release. In another case in Northern California, a senior U.S. District Judge, Charles Breyer, called the limits unconscionable and inhumane. What if the defendant's children are effectively orphaned by the death of their other parent? What if a debilitating injury makes it impossible for the defendant to care for him or herself in prison? What if a terminal diagnosis turns a brief term of imprisonment for a minor crime into a life sentence? I mean, I tend to agree. Um, I mean, if you got like 6 months to live, you shouldn't have to do that behind bars. But it's just another example of how prisoners are dehumanized by our for profit prison system. Um, yes, James, mandatory minimums are crap. And to say that no knock warrants need to come to an end is an understatement. But yeah, it's to sum it up, it's another example of the prison system dehumanizing human beings.
For-profit prisons should not exist. Should never have existed.
Right.
And I'm
Like,
arguable that prisons in general should have ever existed.
right.
Random. I don't know which tribe. Now, mind you, it may sound ignorant, but there is an indigenous tribe in which, when one of their members does something wrong, they all gather around a circle and they tell this person all of the good things they've done, all of the things that they remember doing with the person to remind the person who they are, because they don't look at it as you've done something wrong, you're a bad thing. It's that you're suffering and you're reacting to something, and they need to remind you. Now, I don't think that's going to work on scale, right? But I'm just saying we're doing it wrong.
Kim Potter, the ex cop convicted in Dante Wright's death, is sentenced to 2 years. Now, weren't the suggested minimums for um, Yeah, actually, this article even points that out. The sentence is lower than Minnesota's recommended sentencing guidelines, roughly 7 years for first degree manslaughter. After the judge found there to be mitigating factors in the case. And Potter has served 58 days, leaving about 14 months behind bars. It's in terms of prison time, that's a slap on the fucking wrist, right? Like, I mean, 10 to 15, 7 minimum, 10 to 15 generally is what I was reading previously, is what's normally given for first degree manslaughter. She got 2 years. And James, I don't know. I mean, like, that might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but it's probably not going to be more than a year. Let's be real about it. And yes, Nathan, they should have stopped at jails and started at rehabilitation centers.
Yeah, I thought that was good.
Yeah. Okay. So, like, to dive down that rabbit hole just a little bit, right? Like, if you look at Nordic countries, not that I think that they have all the answers, there's still a lot of issues with social democracy, I guess. But if you at least look at how they treat their prisoners, right? Like, depending on which Scandinavian country you're in, there might not even be a lock on your door. Like, literally, you're there to be rehabilitated. You're not there to be punished.
Yeah.
Minimum security prisons are literally just a house that you share with other people. But there are resources available to you to help reintegrate you into society, to help you move past the things that you've done. You know, it's focused on treatment rather than on punishment. And here in straight up unfettered capitalism America, it's all about punishment. As James said, America likes the punish.
Well, it's got Christian roots. I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, not Christian exactly, but
Abrahamic religion, for sure.
yeah, they like pain, and that's cool, I guess. But in doses, man. I mean, fuck.
2 years, though. 2 fucking years. And now we get to come back to the Canadian truckers. I guess I should hold on. I don't want to just start with a recent thing. I want to do like an overview of this. But the longer that it goes on, the more it seems to evolve and morph into a more and more right wing thing. Um, that's where I want to start with this. Starting off, they were protesting against the COVID-19 restrictions, which I might not personally agree with, but I can like understand that, right? Like, I mean, it's been happening all around the world. It's not like it's unique to Canada or North America in general. Um, but Canada is strengthening its push to disperse the so-called Freedom Convoy. After weeks in the capital, Ottawa, a trucker said that he never had an interest in participating. The convoy was billed as a response to mandatory vaccinations for truck drivers crossing the border with the United States. Gill says there are major issues in the trucking industry, such as unpaid wages and exploitation of foreign workers, that warrant more attention. So like there, this is from Al Jazeera, but this is like from the perspective of a trucker that isn't for the protest. But Gil, that's the trucker's name. Gil said, "I wouldn't call it a truckers' protest. It has nothing to do with trucking." On January 29th, a large group of Canadian truckers and their supporters, numbering in the thousands, rallied outside Parliament Hill in downtown Ottawa to demand the vaccine mandate be rescinded. A few hundred vehicles have remained in the capital since, in what the residents denounced as an occupation of the downtown core, with participants in the convoy insisting they would not budge until all COVID 19 curbs are lifted. Blockades were also erected at points along the border, disrupting traffic and commercial trade for days. Uh, I forget what the name of the crossing is, but there was several border crossings that were impacted, several of them for days. I know that a judge ruled that the truckers on the Ambassador Bridge had to move, and then they still didn't move for a while. But um, so while some Canadian truckers have indeed taken part in the protests across Canada, denouncing the vaccine mandate as an attack on their personal liberties, most Canadian truck drivers are fully vaccinated. The Canadian Truckers Alliance, an industry advocacy group, and the federal government have said approximately 90% of truckers are fully vaccinated. The trucking industry is heavily regulated. We have to get physical tests like eye exams every few years. Getting vaccinated is no different. The CTAs condemned the protests and blockades, with President Stephen Laskowski saying last month that the industry needed to adapt and comply with the vaccine mandate. Um, Around 50 protesters blocked 200 to 400 trucks in Alberta. Yeah. The Federal Royal Canadian Mounted Police said it arrested 13 people and seized a large cache of weapons at the Coutts, Alberta blockade.
Coots.
Coutts.
Hey, carry on.
Demonstrators had also blocked the busiest border crossing between the U.S. and Canada. Those of you from Michigan will be familiar with. Hold on, hold on. I'm going to do a thing with that bridge. Yeah. The Ambassador Bridge is the border crossing between Detroit and Windsor. It's the busiest U.S. Canadian border route, and it was blockaded for nearly a week. Um, that reopened on Sunday. Wow. But that bridge is responsible for approximately 25% of all trade between the U.S. and Canada.
No shit.
Yeah. Experts have also pointed out that the Freedom Convoy was organized by far right activists who have espoused Islamophobic, anti Semitic, and other hateful views, with some observers accusing them of using the trucker vaccine mandate merely as a pretext. Confederate and swastika flags were seen during the group's first large rally in Ottawa last month, fueling concerns, especially among racialized people in Canada. And I mean, I did see a lot of Confederate flags, and I saw a handful of U.S. flags. I did not personally see any swastika flags, but obviously I wasn't there, and I didn't really dig that deep into it. Um, but it's not too surprising to find out the further this goes that it's far right people. I mean, look at it here, for example. It was the right that clung on to the vaccines, that clung on to mask mandates.
Yeah.
Um, the founder of the South Asian Mental Health Alliance said South Asian people account for about 20% of truck drivers in Canada. And many in the industry have expressed feeling alienated by the hate symbols on display at the protests. Firstly, the real challenges faced by truckers from marginalized communities are not represented. But to make matters worse, hate speech and symbols are widespread in the protests. Freedom Convoy rallies to support those it called Canada's real struggling truckers.
Real struggling truckers.
Yeah. Truck drivers have legitimate grievances with the government. The far right white nationalist figures behind the convoy do not speak for them. But, you know, Trudeau invoked the Emergency Act, and now they're saying that Trudeau is just like Hitler. And dude, like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, he's center right, but, like, he ain't no Hitler.
We're off the map here, Rob. I mean, we need to stop pretending to be surprised. What was it? Just a couple of weeks ago, we had an event out here. I mean, there were people out there expecting to see David Bowie, expecting to see Michael Jackson, Elvis. They were all going to rock and roll for Trump. I mean, some of them even thought JFK was wearing a Trump costume. We're off the map. So of course they think he's Hitler. I don't know. And maybe they're kind of right in a sense. Maybe they're totally wrong in a sense. I don't fucking know. We're off the map.
I see we're in the land of delusion, and glad to finally be here for it.
Well, actually, we're talking about Canada right now, but it's all the same, right?
Trump mindset is
Oh my
universal in
God.
a specific place.
James, real struggling truckers coming to you on pay per view Monday night, 1999. Yeah, we are kind of out there. We're talking about the Canada trucker protests, right? And I started out by saying that I don't know enough about it, but the more I look into it, the more I see the right wing organizers, and well, now here we are.
Yeah. Hi, Natalie.
But I like Natalie's take here, and I think that she's pretty spot on with it. I give them credit in their ability to organize together. I just don't support who they are and what they've organized for.
Hi, James. And yeah, Natalie
Yeah,
nailed it there. Yeah,
yeah.
pretty much that.
So that's how we got to Trudeau as Hitler.
Yeah.
It's a logical step.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, hell,
What
how
else
we
do we
got
got?
to truckers right because me no want zine is also at least the bullshit that he had to spew about here, try ivermectin and fucking, hydroxychloroquine and all that fucking stupid shit that ain't ever gonna fucking help with the viral infection. Ever. Ever. Antiparasitics don't help with viruses. But, I mean, it really helped fuel the fucking stupidity, the pandemic bullshit that has totally fueled the anti-vaxxers. All of them. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, the only thing I wanted more to be able to acquire an appointment to get, I do think of many cases, and it's, kind of difficult to get fucking appointment scheduled if it's working. But there's no want to.
Well, I mean, there's already a bunch of medical procedures they go through regularly anyway. Eye exams, your hearing exams, fucking physicals. Why not just make it part of the physical?
And I don't know, but Natalie says I'm breaking up. My fucking phone has 1 bar of reception. I'm gonna try to move it over further this way. I don't know why, but on the right side it gets a stronger signal. Is that any better? It's up to like 3 bars.
Yeah, you're
It's
coming
better.
through clear now. If it's okay with you, I'd actually kind of like to go through and hit some of the comments because I wasn't paying attention while I was reading that, and there was a lot. But I wanted to come
Yeah.
back to Nathan's comment. He said, I don't know what the right answer is in this case, but I do know that I don't agree with the idea of the government being able to freeze all of your assets and bank card indefinitely.
That's fucked.
Yeah. I mean, like, I want to say that too. I don't agree with the protests or why it's happening, but the fact that the government is freezing all of their assets
That's not cool.
indefinitely, right.
Oh, you're on strike, so we're gonna cut off what funds you do have that you can't afford to fucking eat. That's not cool.
Right. But
Like,
it shows, I think, how the state is going to respond to any kind of um, strike. I mean, I think we're going to find out very quickly if, like, a general strike does ever spontaneously happen. I think that we're going to find out how little money actually means very quickly.
right.
Um, James said vaccines should be recommended, not required. Park your truck under the bridge and walk to Burger King. Nathan said, however, I also do not believe they should be sicking the military on them either.
No, that's inappropriate too.
Yeah.
I
He
mean,
also
regardless
said,
of
hell,
whether we agree with the reasons, they do still have a fucking legal right to protest
yeah,
without
yeah.
being fucking assaulted by the military. Now, their reasoning is fucking out there, but I don't care if you want to fucking go out and protest the existence of yellow polka dot panties. Guess what? Your stupid shit is fucking protected, or at least it's supposed to be. You're not supposed to have to deal with the military at any fucking protest, but we already found out how the government feels about that when it came to the George Floyd. Um, as far
I
as
usually refer to them as the George Floyd uprisings. I mean, that was more than your run
like
of the
that,
mill protests.
right? I like
Um,
that. It really was. It was
right. And it's not like it
in
was just right there either. It was across the nation, it was 110 major cities.
right.
You're kind of breaking up a little
So
bit
you
again,
can't
though.
drive, buddy. That's fucking gold.
Yeah.
And Drew, um,
It's also worth noting what Nathan said right before that. The military has had mandatory vaccination since the days of yellow fever. They receive 14
right,
vaccines before they ever leave the shores of the United States. They get, I think it
yeah,
was 8 we got right in the fucking intro of basic training.
yeah. Like that's just always been a requirement, and it's not an optional thing that you get to be like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna leave the military over this. The fact that they're just being like, okay, get out then, like, no, this is just another one added to the list required for the job, no differently than if you're working in medical or in education. It's part of the fucking job. Don't be a vector of disease while you're at work. Fucking plague harbingers.
Um, we talked quite a bit about Ukraine.
Did you?
Um,
Did you pull up that stuff from that tweet that Nate had shared with us earlier? Because
not yet, not yet. I
that
wanted to
was
circle
some
back to it
serious, like,
because I know that you've kept more up to date on Ukraine. You and Nate, I guess I should say, but Nate's not in here. Have
and
kept
he's
more up to date on Ukraine than I have. I've been working until right before the show last night. So
right. We lost Sterling. Where did he go? But on that note, also, Nathan, you should hop in here. Because,
Sterling went to cook dinner, I believe.
okay, right on. I hope he comes back. But Nathan, if you want to hop in here, we can really dissect the fuck out of that stuff earlier. Okay, like the tweet feed that I'm referring to here that Nathan shared into our group chat this morning was going into this false flag claim that the United States is now making against Russia concerning a fucking massive shell that went right through an elementary school in a border town of Ukraine, right next to the Russian border. And the US is trying to claim that the Russians did it as a false flag thing. And if you look at the map showing where this school is at and the orientation of the building and the directionality of that fucking shell going through it, there is no fucking way. Guess what? Even as badass as their military might be, they don't have matrix skills to make a shell take a hard right fucking turn into a building. They literally could not have sent it through at that angle being a level shot. It is completely fucking level like it was fired from a tank. And it could not have come from the Russian side of the fucking border. Not to mention the whole stance Russia has taken is if you guys invade Ukraine and you become a threat to the ethnic Russians who live in Ukraine along our border, we are going to stand up and protect them because they are our people. This is not Russia threatening to invade Ukraine. Russia can't invade Ukraine. Ukraine is Russia. It is part of it. That is Russian people that fucking live there. And they are saying that they are going to stand up and protect the people there. So who the fuck sent that shell through an elementary school? Because it wasn't the Russians. They couldn't have done it if they wanted to. They would have had to have been inside Ukraine to send that fucking shell through at that angle. It's not fucking possible. This is a bullshit line being fed by Western fucking media to try to paint Russia as the guy just to fucking excuse us invading. And the fact of the matter is, every fucking bit of this comes down to the oil or the gas line being built going from Russia to fucking Germany that bypasses Ukraine. And the Ukrainian economy is dealing with a bunch of shit as a side effect of this right now. But guess who they blame? They don't blame Russia, they blame the United States government. They literally have put out fucking PSAs like, by the way, United States, this is your fucking fault right now because you're agitating and causing problems. But all of this comes down to that fucking pipeline where the United States does not want Germany and Russia to actually have trade with each other for this gas pipeline because oh, that's a threat to Western capitalist fucking interests. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah,
And it's fuck.
and I mean, like, I don't know. I was saying earlier that I don't. I've been trying to like look at it from the outside and not take sides to try to like get to the bottom of it because there's so much. There's so much, and the U.S. is accusing Russia of like launching a misinformation campaign, but like, aren't we?
Yeah. We're the ones launching disinformation, fucking trying to be like, see Russia bad guy.
Yeah,
I mean, I, even the whole fucking stance of oh Russia's gonna invade Ukraine is fucking false. because they're going, no, if y'all fucking invade Ukraine, we're gonna fucking defend our people who live there. Russia doesn't need to invade Ukraine. Russia's trying to protect Ukraine from NATO.
Right. Which NATO or Ukraine cannot be part of NATO well, according to a treaty that has already been broken, but
Right.
we can circle back to that if we want, but the point is that if Ukraine joins NATO, that is breaking that treaty, right? And the Russian-backed separatists don't want and never wanted to be a part of Ukraine.
Yeah. And we got to keep in mind that um the government that is running shit in Ukraine is straight up fucking right-wing extremist neo fucking Nazis. Okay, let's put all of this in context. The reason why the United States government is trying to back the right-wing fascist neo-Nazi fucking government that is in place in Ukraine right now should be blatantly obvious, because fascists like other fascists. The US is trying to protect a fucking fascist regime in Ukraine that the people of Ukraine are trying to overthrow and get rid of.
James summed this up pretty well. He said it's a game of major world powers playing push, shove, push, waiting on the other to swing first.
Yep.
Problem is, we think we control the world and need to stay home and mind our own business. And I mean, honestly, like before I was even really politicized, that was pretty much my foreign policy takeaway.
Right. Stay in your own fucking lane. This shit of why the United States government feels the need to play world police is just fucking mind-blowing. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? That is not our government, the US government, I should say, because it really ain't ours. We don't fucking agree with it. But the US government has no fucking business doing this shit. It's fucking colonizer trash. All the way.
Um,
Only anymore, instead of straight up normal colonization methods that we've seen historically, now it's military colonization. Look at how many fucking countries there are US military bases in. Why? To maintain a fucking stronghold of power over other people on their own fucking land.
hold on.
Maya, I will look that up and see. But there's also um, some issues there as far as that's concerned, because their government in general is an extremely fascist, right wing, neo Nazi type fucking government. So, like, even if they have one token in there, that doesn't change that they are straight up fascist. But since you bring it up, I will look and see what's up. Because,
So, like, if you're watching on a phone, that's probably pretty hard to see, right? But it's a map of our military bases. Well, it's a map of
all right, like somebody
Cue the
just
Tom
took a
it.
jar
Clancy
of.
music.
Yeah, so like it's
Hola,
worth
guys.
noting that there is the small ones are patrol bases. The these are naval fleets, obviously, and these are all U.S. bases. So yeah. Anyway,
I'll be right
point
with you.
is,
I'm just grabbing coffee.
Kafifi.
Coffee.
I'm reading up here on Ukraine's president. Um, but I also have to take a moment to point out that even the fucking Israeli government in Israel operates like neo-Nazis. They're extremely fascist, extremely right-wing, and that's a fucking problem. And before anybody
Regardless of who's doing it, that's not anti-Semitic. That's anti-fascist.
right. Like, I'm a quarter Jewish. I would have to fucking hate myself to be anti-Semitic. So that's not anti-Semitism. That is anti-Zionism. Um, there's a difference. Uh, but
True.
you know, um, I'm looking here to find out, is this somebody who is ethnically Jewish, or is he a white European convert to Judaism, or what? Um, see what I can find. But either way, when it
Hold
hasn't
on.
changed the dynamics of their extremely fascist government, doesn't help.
I'm gonna bring up hopefully a more clear map of U.S. military bases. That's clearer. That should be better. And I'm also gonna make it full screen this time. There we
And
go.
of course, this is behind a paywall.
12 foot. So yeah.
Data.
12foot.io.
Look at these. Look at all these bases. Look at all that military. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Jim. You can't just stand in my face.
Point is, we're fucking everywhere. We're killing the planet all over the planet.
Yeah,
Killing it dead.
yeah.
Sounds about right. Sorry, I can't see me. So if you can see me, I hope that it is like an okay camera angle. I can't get anything to scroll, so I can't see the actual camera. But anyway, what's up, guys?
What's up?
Oh,
Hola.
we're
Lord Sterling's here. Hell yeah. What's
hell
up, Rob?
yeah.
I miss you. I haven't got
What
to
it
see you
is,
in,
man.
in forever.
Yeah.
I know I've
Well,
been
here we are.
busy.
Zen motherfucker had some badass shit to say about Ukraine, and I have to thank you for pointing out how fascist the we'll just say other party is that is involved or at the heart of it. So, because you're absolutely right about that.
The birds of a feather flock together thing.
Absolutely, you know it.
Yep.
Well, and the one thing that I was going to mention too is that as far as Russia goes, Russia's going to try anything that it can to not look like the bad guy right now. And
Yeah.
blowing your load through a school of kids, literally, is not exactly the best look. But it'll certainly pull on some heartstrings, especially when it comes to the cult, especially when it comes to people that want to quote unquote save the children.
But they do nothing to save the children.
Right. And
Yeah, we're all super
Yeah. So
susceptible to
Nate, I
emotional
know that
appeals.
you are more well versed in the Ukraine situation than I am. So, like, do you want to give us a brief overview
It's essentially Russia is trying their hardest to try to get back any of the neighboring countries that used to be part of the Soviet Union. Um, Ukraine being one of them. At the same time, Ukraine has, I think it's like 40% of all of Russia's oil. The pipes actually go through Ukraine, which is why
Right.
Hunter Biden is on that oil company's thing. But as far as the oil goes, they're like, look, if you guys are going to benefit from, you know, all of this stuff financially because of our oil and everything, you probably should listen to your people, which there's a good mix of them are Russian separatists, and come back home, so to speak, because long before any of this stuff actually happened, they were part of the USSR, and that's what they're trying hard to get back. At the same
Would
time,
would you say that they're trying to get the Soviet Union back, or would you say they're trying to build an empire?
honestly, it feels like they're just trying to get the Soviet Union back. And the reason I say that is that they're only focusing on what's literally around them. You know what I mean? Like they're not trying for, like, to take over the North Pole or any of the other stuff that you hear people on the other side say. But what they are doing is trying like hell to uh, disrupt the countries that are directly around them in order to bring them back into the fold, so to speak. And Zen's right. This is more about them trying to essentially fight NATO and keep NATO from taking Ukraine, because if NATO does that, they'll never get it back into the fold. So she's completely spot on there. It has more to do with NATO versus Russia than it does Ukraine versus Russia versus the United States.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I know it all comes down to NATO, and I know it all comes down to treaties that were signed with the Soviet Union when NATO was formed, that were renegotiated after the fall of the Soviet Union with Russia. And as I understand it, the terms of both of those treaties have been violated at this point. So, like,
Correct. Yeah.
how
Yeah.
can we even try to paint Russia as the bad guy?
Exactly. Now, don't get me wrong. People will be like, "No, Russia's clearly the aggressor here," and it's like, not really though. Like, in terms of Ukraine, no. In terms of NATO, yes. NATO was the original aggressor when it came to trying to smudge Russia's pumas, so to speak. So the fight between Russia and NATO is eons long, and this is just the latest part of it.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, honestly, this fight, this argument, if you will, over NATO is older than the Russian Federation.
Yeah, yeah. That's the truth of it too. Yeah, it's 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 much more than what we take in or see on our side of things here, especially with the way that MSNBC and New York Times and so on and so forth are. So of
Yeah. Oh
course
my
we're gonna
God,
back
dude.
it like that.
Like, and that was the thing. I should have known that I was going to get stressed out. But when we were talking about Ukraine earlier, I pulled up a CNN, like, things you need to know, and it's all just a bunch of beating the war drums. Like, there's no objectivity to it. There's no even real facts to it. It's just Russia
Yeah,
bad, Russia bad, Russia bad, like shoving it down your throat.
yeah, yeah. They're trying really, really hard to jack up the Dow Jones right now, man. That's what this is all about when it comes to the United States and our position on it, it's literally about jack up the Dow Jones. Let's make sure that we can sustain what we need through war because we don't know anything else. We've been doing that for decades now, maybe even centuries. I don't know.
Right.
But
Okay.
yeah, it's pretty wild.
I would like to just announce real quick that we have been live on Facebook for over an hour and we're still live.
No way.
Good shit. Good shit. Not getting doxxed for whatever. I would like to bounce back now that I'm done like reading through at least what I could briefly find while we're live. That the Jewish president in Ukraine has only been in place for a few months, for one. So he's very new, just got elected, and he's done dismissing one person who was in their government, who was a very loud historian who is greatly in favor of basically worshiping fucking Nazi collaborators. So it looks to me, don't quote me on this because I'm going to have to do more research to find out, but it looks to me like he's one of the people who's wanting to overthrow said Nazi fucking government there. And the Jewish people who live there are kind of worried that if he fails, that they're going to have to deal with another wave of anti-Semitism there.
Yeah, which I mean,
That's possible, absolutely.
Like
But it
that's at
doesn't
least
I
mean they
mean,
shouldn't
in
try.
the USSR, anti-Semitism was punishable by death.
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And while there was no reference to whether he is ethnic Jew or European Jew, it does say that he's at least Russian as far as descent, which there's a lot of ethnic Jews that are Russian Jews. So still don't know as far as that goes, but
Me.
um, he is he is a native Russian speaker, not Ukrainian, things like that. So it kind of makes me wonder, seeing how he is actually trying to like clean house and get rid of the fucking Nazis there, and he doesn't himself seem to be against Russia. He, at least from what that article said, which again, don't know how much validity there is because we're talking Western media is the only thing fucking accessible at the moment there.
Yeah.
That he is has tried to resolve the situation with Russia too. Um, but to be fair, I would not be surprised if he's trying to actually ease into rejoining Russia. But first, they have to get rid of the fucking Nazis that
Right.
overwhelmingly are occupying their government. He's been able to get rid
Right.
of.
Wow. Hey,
Yeah,
better than none. But you have to
right.
remember that,
It's a start.
when it comes to Ukraine's culture, it, they're they heavily lean, fascist. Their public
Hmm.
does. Their
Right,
soldiers absolutely do. Like they literally think that the Third Reich was the right way, and it's kind of scary. So I can understand why the Jewish population there would be like, tread lightly, please. But they
right.
got to try. They have to try. They really do.
Right. They're worried about backlash. They're sitting there like this, hoping that he's successful in getting the Nazi influences out of the government. But like there was quotes from multiple people who live there in that article, um, stating that they were worried about anti-Semitic backlash of like if he fails, then these motherfuckers are gonna look for someone to blame, and it could quite possibly be every fucking Jewish person who lives here.
Hmm. Yeah. Um.
So
Honestly, I don't envy the man because you guys all know how many masks a lot of these people here in the States have, and I'm sure that the
right.
media over there is no different. I can't imagine how many masks he had to remove just to get that one person out. But I hope that he gets some help soon.
Right. It's kind of interesting, like, because this is the first I've read up as far as Zelensky goes, and he was actually an actor who was playing a teacher who randomly got elected president on TV, and then he got elected president, and it's kind of strange, and it kind of makes me feel a little like, the Reagan years. Um,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
he from what I gather, there is still, he himself is nationalist, that he's trying to steer focus away from his ethnicity and more towards nationalist ideals. But it's like, isn't that just trying to appeal to the Nazis that are the nationalists there, rather than smacking down? So it's kind of like,
right.
um,
It's
what
kind of
what are
like
you really?
all of the Ukraine skirmish. All of it's You're totally right.
Right, right, and it's just like, fuck,
Nothing's what it seems, you know?
issues. But
It's
like,
wild.
it's just fucking ridiculous, though, that there's shit going on like this. Like, um the stuff I was reading up on earlier this morning after you shared that Twitter feed
Yeah,
was going into things like how Blackwater, which is a very fucking right-wing extremist United States fucking private
mercenary
military.
force. Yeah,
Yes. They're the ones over there training Ukraine's extremely right-wing fucking neo-Nazi soldiers.
and they'll be right at
And
home then. Yeah,
it's like, oh, fuck me. So since Biden didn't have the ability to actually send troops into Ukraine, he just surrounded Ukraine with US troops and sent Blackwater in, like, haha, corporate fucking soldiers.
yeah, that's scary.
Yeah.
Well, because the thing is that corporate soldiers they don't even really technically exist as far as the Geneva Convention goes. So
That's why
they
they
can do
use
whatever the
them.
fuck they want. Yeah,
They can
yeah,
they can go and commit fucking war crimes and be like, we don't have to show
yeah,
you our records, and we don't document that anyway. So
yeah. I mean, and Blackwater's been used by everybody from Coca-Cola to Shell to BP. I mean, the list goes on and on. So it's like
mhm.
I probably shouldn't say that, but ask the
In that
people
right
of
there,
Colombia.
right. Just
I'm
think
sorry,
about
say
it.
that
Every
again.
fucking time Blackwater has been involved in an invasion, it's been over oil or gas. Gee, I
Yeah,
wonder what they're in
yeah,
Ukraine for.
yeah.
Right?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. And we're about to get dragged into it.
Yeah. So like James said, so it's a case of the kids aren't like mom, or the kids don't like mom, but she loves them and wants them home. So that crazy American uncle says, "Don't listen to her. I will sanction her."
That that
Bingo.
Good old sanctions.
Only the kids don't get two Christmases and birthdays.
no, they just end up with
Yeah,
none.
that's yeah, exactly.
Like,
I must
be glad you
go.
got some kind of
Briefly,
shingle to
people.
eat, little kid.
Have a
Fuck.
good sleep, my friend.
It,
Oh, bye, Sterling. If he's even still
he
listening.
he said briefly. I don't think he's going to bed.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Have a good
I,
sleep.
I thought he said I must go to sleep.
Um. So this is kind of old news, but like I just wanted to talk about a little bit how funny it is that the United States advises against travel to Cuba for COVID-19 risk. Cuba.
You mean Cuba, where like every fucking buddy who possibly could be
Is
vaccinated is
vaccinated?
vaccinated, and they have
Yeah.
one of the lowest fucking rates of infection on the globe? What?
Even though they have one of the highest test ratios,
Mhm.
Right.
like
Like you're
they're
actually staying
doing
on.
more tests and they're coming back with fewer negatives, but they're a risk. They're a risk.
This is another example of, oh, don't listen to your mother. Like, you know what I mean? This is just another version of it. And the funny thing is the United States is the one that we refused to give them the vaccine, refused to give them any because it was too precious. And then when push came to shove, we went, okay, well, you can have the RNA information and data and make your own. And then they made their own, and now they're even vaccinating South America and Mexico because a lot of countries there aren't able to do it for themselves. So Cuba looks
I
like a
mean,
badass
China,
right now.
dude. Like China is also kicking ass on the vaccine front. They also have their own vaccines, and they're distributing them to parts of Latin America as well, and like in pretty significant numbers to Africa.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that. I did see that. I mean, that's
You know what? I I'm sorry to interrupt. I have to point out Maya just corrected me. The article that I pulled up not have been as recent as I thought. Because I tried to get Google to pull the most recent first. She said that Zelensky became president in 2019. So I stand corrected,
mhm.
but he is still relatively new, just not as new as I thought. And I'm trying to get this article to pull up so I can actually see what she's referencing here as far as the attempted coup last,
Mm,
but my
yes,
computer
yeah.
doesn't collaborate or cooperate here. So I'm sorry, continue. I just wanted to point that out. Thank you, Maya. I will see what I can do to get that to pull up so I can actually take a look at that one. Um,
It was kind of like our stuff. It wasn't a military coup, I don't believe. It was more of like a media based coup.
Huh.
Um, and of course we all know Zelensky from the perfect phone call too. You know, that was also his kind of stuff.
there we go. Haha, I forced the computer to cooperate.
Nice.
It's still loading, but at least it's opening the link.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
all right, let's see what we can find here. Zelensky says Ukraine uncovers coup plot involving Russians. Kremlin denies role. Zelensky says plotters tried to rope in Ukraine's richest man, tycoon Akhmatov. Zelensky, he said that Zelensky's statements were an absolute lie. What? Okay, what are they even fucking talking about here? Uh, uh, President Zelensky said Ukraine had uncovered a plot to overthrow his government. Um, Involving individuals from Russia caught on tape talking about roping Ukraine's richest businessman into backing a coup. The Kremlin denied any role in any coup plot, and the businessman called the president's account an absolute lie. Zelensky himself gave few details and stopped short of saying whether he believed the Kremlin was behind the plot. But the accusation raised the temperature at a time when Kiev and its Western allies have already accused Moscow of massing troops near the Ukrainian border. And that's ridiculous because they have literally had like this same number of troops along that border for over a decade, if I remember right. So it's just been their typical shit there. It's not like they're
They've been there since like 2014 when all this crap started to begin with. Yeah.
Yep.
um
You know,
and
I
of course Moscow dismissed that as false and alarmist.
mhm.
Uh you were gonna say?
I was going to say that's another thing that kind of bugs me is that everybody's trying to act like Joe's you know He's like FDR. And no, it from the looks of it, it almost looks like he's going to be more like George Bush and try to like finish what he started back in 2014.
Right. And well, the thing is, okay, Zelensky himself as an individual aside, the fact that their government is almost all fucking extremely right-wing fascist motherfuckers makes me go, so would Russia even be wrong if they did try to get a coup to happen there? Would they even be wrong? Because I, for one, feel that overthrowing fascist government is fucking a great idea.
A-okay. Yeah, just
Yeah.
like when President Z was like, China does not export revolution, and we all made those memes that were like, can you export just a little revolution as a
Right,
treat?
right. Please, a little. Please, can we get some of that? You know.
Over here like
But
Oliver Twist.
what else? Oh, it's going on here about what that businessman Akhmetov said. Um,
He's that real estate mogul, right? He's got like
I'm not sure it hasn't,
billions of dollars.
but he called himself the country's biggest investor, taxpayer, and employer, and will continue to defend a free Ukraine, a free economy, democracy, and freedom of speech. Well, are you really?
That sounds like if the CEO of Walmart became president.
Yeah.
That wasn't the president that said that. That was the guy that was accused of funding the coup. Um,
Oh.
uh, so
So that
it's
He's
sounds like
the
Walmart funded a coup.
right.
right, or Jeff Bezos did, or fucking Elon Musk did. But then it comes back to, would that necessarily be a bad thing to form a coup and overthrow a fascist government? You know, um, especially when, let's be honest, when it comes to the role of a president, you're more figurehead than anything. There's not exactly a whole hell of a lot of power in
Yeah.
that one seat to really invoke an all over change in the fucking politics there that have,
Especially if you're an actual democracy.
right, right. And it's like, wait a fucking minute. Do you really have democracy if the majority of power is held in the hands of fascists?
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
says here, uh, their sovereign dollar bonds tumbled to their lowest level in more than a year on Friday. And I don't, I would have to scroll back up. This is from November. Okay.
Okay.
So in November. And the cost of ensuring exposure to the country's debt soared amid rising security concerns. Zelensky did not give full details of the coup plot. Asked explicitly whether he thought the Kremlin was involved, he said, "I'm sorry, I can't talk about it."
You're the one who
Um,
brought it up, bro.
Yeah, right.
right,
What the
right.
fuck?
Like, I'm going to throw this out here and then just not back it up with any fucking thing. Um, it says he spoke at length at a news conference of the threat of a Russian military escalation and said Ukraine would be ready for it. So, um, I don't know where that has gone as far as, because there was a couple of articles that I looked through real quick, and one of them was saying that he was trying to like kind of make treaty with them if possible. Um, but you know, it's one of those things that it's definitely going to take some more reading up on to actually get a full grasp on even like his personal position there. So I you know, understand that I was spitballing a few minutes ago of like, we, you know, could it be this, could it be that? um but he says we're in full control of our borders and fully prepared for any escalation, and it's like, what escalation? Because they've had this solid military presence on their border for quite some time. And I'd love to point out one thing, that this parallel was drawn in that tweet feed earlier, that would the US just be like, well, fuck it, we're not securing our border? No. No,
Right.
no. So who is the U.S. to be like, Russia, you're so bad for securing your border?
Yeah.
You
On the
know,
real though.
it's
Yeah,
one of
and
those.
that was the first thing that I pointed out when I brought it up earlier was like all of these Russian troops that everybody's freaking out about. They're in fucking Russia, all right? Where are our
Right.
Right.
troops
Yeah.
at?
And they're even the ones that are in Belarus are like thousands of miles from the actual border of Ukraine. So it's like, who
Right.
cares?
I mean, even given the skew on this, understand this article here that I'm reading is from Reuters, so there's still Western influence, even in the perspective
Right.
of the author,
Yeah.
who's writing here. Um, you know. But it says the head of Ukraine's military intelligence told the Military Times outlet last week that Russia had more than 92,000 troops amassed around Ukraine's borders and was preparing for an attack by the end of January or beginning of February. And right now, being February, that sounds to me like Western media just setting the scene of like, hey, by the way, here, let's spoon feed this to you. So you're just expecting this. And then we can fucking do what's
Yeah.
happening right now of like,
Yeah.
oh, Russian false flag operation. And it's
Oh
like,
my god, dude!
Right.
And like I brought this up a couple of times. I brought it up with Sterling, and I think I brought it up with you. But like, dude, you fucking read a CNN thing about it or an NPR piece about it, and it's just Russia bad, Russia bad, Russia bad. It's like they're shoving it down your throat.
Yeah.
Like
right,
there's no facts behind it. There's no objectivity. It's just literally person after person after person, high-ranking official after high-ranking official saying Russia
Right.
bad.
right,
Well, also the whole thing with the coup with Zelensky, it it looks a little sus if you're going to sit there and be like, oh yeah, cry wolf about a coup, and then when anybody sits there and says, oh well, can you tell us what happened or what's going on? And they go, oh, I can't talk about it. That's just
right,
weird.
After
right.
he brought it up.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like,
And it kind of
But
makes me wonder if maybe that might be related to, I don't know, the fucking enormous amount of ammunition and javelin missiles that the US was like, here, Ukraine military, here is our gift. Of
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
it's like, what are you really up to, motherfuckers?
yeah.
Um,
Makes you wonder.
it says
Certainly does.
ministers from NATO member states, including U.S. top diplomat Anthony Blinken, would meet with Ukrainian officials during a summit in Latvia. And again, this article is from November, so now I'm kind of curious as far as what happened at that summit. The plot thickens. Um, do do
Dun dun
do.
dun.
Yeah. Like, wait a fucking minute here. Wait a fucking minute. Russia has said it suspects Ukraine of wanting to recapture separatist controlled territory by force, which would be the ethnic Russians who live in that border region. So
And that would explain Belarus.
right. And it's like if you are trying to take control of this border region by force, people who don't want to be subjected to Ukrainian government, who want to be part of Russia again because they're fucking Russians.
Right.
Who's
Right.
really the bad guy here? Like,
Yes.
no, we won't
Yeah.
let you fucking leave us. Motherfucker, in the world
Yeah.
one, well, the Western world, the fucking NATO forces want to pretend like it's Russia taking that stance when Russia is, from what it looks like, just being like, we welcome you back. So if your government, your illegitimate fucking fascist government there attacks you, we're gonna protect you from the Ukrainian military. And it's
Well,
like,
and don't forget Belarus. The Belarus didn't like, they they weren't like defending themselves when the Russians came in. They were welcoming the Russians, and they're now working with the Russians. So yeah, absolutely.
That that
Yeah.
um
So, like, what else do we got other than Ukraine? I'm so sick of Ukraine.
Oh, did you hear about the did you hear about the bourgeoisie boat that
Oh
so that
yeah. So, like,
go
as
ahead,
I
tell them.
understand it, as I understand it, under international water maritime law, that boat and its contents are free grabs, guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of diving parties that are about to be signed up. I guarantee it.
So this boat has like 4,000 cars on it, including like
Yep,
1,100 Porsches.
1,100 Porsches, and it caught fire and is currently sinking in the ocean in the middle of nowhere. So that's that's pretty wild. I couldn't believe that. I was like, you got to be kidding me right now. I would I would pay. I'd pay good money to be able to go out and dive and pick up a couple Porsches. That'd be great. Of course, you'd have to have a boat and a crane long enough and big enough to do it. But yikes! You know what though? Fuck it. Who cares? Like, it, for a fact that the people at Porsche, they didn't lose out on anything here. I'm sure they're insured. I'm sure that the actual vessel itself was also insured.
Oh yeah.
So it's not like any of it actually matters. But pretty funny regardless. I had to laugh about that. I was like, you got to be kidding me right now.
Yeah.
Um,
Um
we covered the you talked about Kim Potter, right?
yeah, I mean we can go back to it though. I didn't talk about it long. I basically just said it's nowhere fucking near enough time.
It really isn't. No, it's
The sentencing guidelines, suggest a minimum of 7 years. Generally 10 to 15 from what I'm reading is what's usually given. She got two
yeah.
years.
It's wild, man. It really is. And here's the thing though. Here's the thing that upsets me is that depending on what angle you look at it from, I've I've got a lot of other people that are telling me, "Oh, it's kind of messed up that she got any time at all." And it's like, "No, it's really not." And they're like, "But she only got any time at all because she's a woman." And I'm like, "Actually, they kind of got a point there because most of these cops get off on this shit, literally and metaphorically, but most of them walk. So kind of
Yeah,
makes
but
you wonder
I mean,
what it was all
again,
about.
as Sterling put it earlier about like the student loan forgiveness, it's just crumbs for the camera. That's all it is. It's a PR
Yeah.
campaign. It's not meaningful fucking punishment.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. One sec.
um I also want to take a moment to respond to Maya again because she posted some stuff from WION and was asking about their reliability. Um, and I've just done a quick search here, and there's some contention as far as their bias goes, but I'll just leave it at this little gem I just found that Steve Bannon loves them and has used their channel for grandstanding his extreme right wing rhetoric. So probably not. However, the stuff that you just shared from Al Jazeera, I would probably put a little bit more weight in. At least they tend to have somewhat less bias there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's easy to have less bias when you don't have a dog in the fight. You know what I mean?
right. And well, I mean, I'm not even sure where India would have a dog in the fight. That's where WION is from. It's the World is One news channel out of India.
Oh, okay.
They have kicked out a lot of like extremely anti-China rhetoric, um,
Yeah.
uh, and which would make sense if they're extremely right wing, which they would have to be platforming Steve Bannon. I mean, he's
Imagine
literally
being right
Also,
wing in India.
right.
yikes. Well, and here's the
It's
thing
so
about that
oppressive
too
here,
is
though. We're
that
talking about a caste system, so these are
yeah,
probably the extremely wealthy hands on top that want to keep that caste system in place
And not the
versus
right.
communists on the
They're like we
bottom that
love
are
having
working
an
on turning it
underclass.
upside down.
right, right. When the
Exactly. You
majority
got
of
it,
the
Rob.
people there, and they are very when it comes to their protests against this caste system, against this fucking economic uh, disparity that's going on there.
Yeah.
Um, it kind of makes sense that their biggest new news channel in the last, you know, decade to have been formed is extremely right wing. It's being held by the hands of the wealthy, and Steve,
Exactly. Yeah. And the wealthy love that they have an underclass that they can, make do all this stuff for them while they get all the riches. It's no different than here.
yeah, it's the exploiter class. Um,
Exactly.
so it's yeah, I think that told me what I needed to know about their bias. Because it seems to be other right wing establishments that were calling them the least biased ever. And it's like, yeah, no, not if they're fucking platforming Steve Bannon. They can't be. But I
Yeah.
will just tell just Al Jazeera link next and, you know, see what's up in that one.
It's you'll have to excuse me. I don't have a chair or anything like that, so I'm just like squatting, and then my legs start to hurt, so I feel like
Oh,
squat
please,
differently.
man.
And
Go grab a chair, bro. This is not feel the burn time of like
right.
exercise, like those calisthenics going on. All right, I'm scrolling the Al Jazeera's.
Natalie, you're totally right. She said it makes sense, just like who owns our media.
Right, right. The fucking oligarchs do.
And Wade said, hey, the choppy boy could be built on an angle.
Damn it, Wade.
He's imagining Nate doing that Russian squat dance.
This other article that Maya put in there is just from last month. Um, and this one is starting off talking about um, Russia led troops arriving in Kazakhstan amid renewed violence. That's the headline here. It says fresh violence erupted in Kazakhstan's largest city on Thursday as Russia rushed in paratroopers to put down a countrywide uprising in one of Moscow's closest former Soviet allies. Police in the main city, Almaty, said they had killed dozens of protesters. The authorities said at least 18 members of the security forces had died, including two found decapitated. More than 2,000 people were arrested. Burned out vehicles littered Almaty's streets. Several government buildings were in ruins, and bullet casings were strewn over the grounds of the presidential residence, which was stormed and looted by protesters. Um, a 29-year-old nursery school teacher was quoted as saying, "I didn't know our people could be so terrifying." It's part of humanity, honey. It's, fuck. Sadly, um, those military personnel regained control of the main airport, seized earlier by protesters. I think we talked about this briefly when it happened, but this is going a little deeper, looks like, than what we were finding at the time. The Russian deployment was a gamble by the Kremlin that rapid military force could secure its interests in the oil and uranium producing Central Asian nation by swiftly putting down the worst violence in Kazakhstan's 30 years of independence. Reuters journalists reported hearing explosions and gunfire as military vehicles and dozens of soldiers advanced in Almaty, although the shooting stopped again after nightfall. Few local media said security forces had cleared demonstrators from the central square and other key government buildings, but there were also reports of gunfire elsewhere in the city. The internet was shut down across the country, making it impossible to gauge the extent of the unrest. But the violence was unprecedented in a state ruled firmly since Soviet times by leader. I'm probably going to destroy this name. I'm sorry, Nursultan Nazarbayev. I'm trying. Um, uh, let's see. He stepped down 3 years ago as president, but still kind of holds on to the reins of power there. His handpicked successor, President Kasim Jomart Tokayev, called in the Russian forces overnight as part of a Moscow-led military alliance of ex-Soviet states to combat what he called foreign-trained terrorist groups. And if if anything, this shows me that like other former Soviet states are actually counting on Russia to help them, handle shit if need be. Whereas, like in comparison to the Ukrainian situation, they're acting as if the Russian government protecting ethnic Russians who live there is somehow a fucking problem. Where they're like, no, we want to genocide you if we feel like it, and fuck you, you don't get to do anything about it. Like, again, who's the bad guy there? Um, you know, um, Moscow said it would consult with Kazakhstan and allies on steps to support the Kazakh counter-terrorist operation, and repeated Takayev's assertion that the uprising was foreign-inspired. Neither Kazakhstan nor Russia provided evidence to support the claim. And I don't know who it is, but one of you has some really loud TV shit in the background that is drowning everything up. There we go. I I don't know what that was. Anywho, um, but I mean, to me, that at least puts a different light on, even how another former Soviet state is um, interacting with the Russian government and relying on their military to step in. Of like, hey, there's Russian people here being fucking slaughtered, you know, and they called them for help. So, you know, it's one of those things that, I mean, again, all of it has to be taken with a grain of salt because, you know, we're not there to be able to see in person, and we're dependent on other news sources to be able to find certain things out. Um, but I'm not sure how else this would tie into what we were discussing about Ukraine. But it says here that Nazarbayev was the last Soviet era Communist Party boss, still ruling a former Soviet state. Um, so, whoa, what's the status?
Huh?
A whole bunch of like static just fucking came through and made me jump.
I don't know.
Oh, it was.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. There's still a lot of static coming through. And I'm not sure what it is.
Uh, check your mic real quick. See if your mic's feeding back.
Well, I mean, I think it's mine, but
Oh, actually, yeah, there it goes. It's gone now. Yeah, I think it was. I think it's your headset, Rob.
Shit, that's
but
even
I
louder.
mean, the headset is the mic is separate.
Oh, it
Right.
is. Okay, gotcha. Hmm.
I don't know when it first did it a couple minutes ago. It sounded like a staticky TV playing in the background.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I thought it was, but I guess not.
hmm,
Well, I mean, the TV was on out there, but it's not now.
Hmm.
okay, it's
I'm
much
not.
quieter
I'm.
now, but
Yeah, it's
at least
quieter
I
than
can
it
hear
was.
you now.
So
And yeah, because the
yeah,
static was louder than anything a moment ago. Um, but uh,
that's wild
any,
though. Especially considering that I think you're right. It sounds to me like the whole reason that they don't want to be, policed by Russia is that they do want to be able to bully whoever they want and genocide whoever they want that's around them.
right, it really makes me wonder. Like what's their motivation there? Because it's just a clusterfuck. And the sad part is, the people who are going to be most affected by it are going to be your fucking working class, normal, everyday people,
Yep.
and not the assholes starting the shit.
Right. Which is typical, you know.
Right.
So, I got something that I did want to bring up. I'm surprised that Wade hasn't brought it up in the comments actually, because he was kind of the spearhead behind it. But we will be having, speaking of other platforms, which we were a minute ago, we will be having a Discord up and running. It technically is up and running. We just haven't really built it out yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
We want
That's
to get
awesome though.
content
Hell
on
yeah.
there first before like bringing everybody on board. At
I'm
least get it
pretty
organized.
sure I joined it already, but I haven't actually like interacted with it.
yeah, same.
Right. Same.
Um,
Yep.
but that'll be probably the best way to interact with us. I mean, honestly, it's probably going to eventually replace our Facebook group chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that happening really quickly, especially giving Zuckerberg's, affinity for fascism.
Right.
Right. Does
There's
anybody have any ideas of like video platforming sites that are not Facebook or YouTube though? There's been
Odyssey.
problematic policies out of both for a while now.
right.
Yeah.
And it's only a
Uh,
matter of time before that's turned against us.
I would definitely say to look at Odyssey because Odyssey seems to have like the most content that like you normally won't be able to get on YouTube.
Okay. Never heard of that,
Um,
but it's worth checking into.
yeah, it's got a lot of tutorials and stuff. There's a lot of people that do live streams on it. So if especially when it comes to like the bread tube cats, like there's a lot of them that have jumped over to Odyssey in order to host certain debates that have stuff that's considered taboo on YouTube or Facebook. So I would definitely suggest to go there.
Does that have the option for embedding, like what we're currently using with YouTube, to embed it onto our actual website?
I would think that it would. I'm almost positive that it would like embed like cross-platform links and stuff. You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it does. I know that it even hosts files and stuff like that for download. So if you wanted to make, like an MP4 of your different episodes and stuff and have them for download for all your stuff, you can have it that way too.
Awesome.
Hmm.
Good shit.
Yeah, Natalie asked who owns Discord, and James said probably not made a book.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, exactly. Not Mark Zuckerberg. That's the point. We
Hmm.
don't really know if it's going to be better or not until we try it. But I mean, I've heard a lot of good things about Discord. It seems to have a lot of functionality. A lot of people are already familiar with it.
Well, and it carries video now too, doesn't it?
Does it?
If I
I
remember,
read
I think
something
so.
about that, but I haven't really, looked around in it. So I
Yeah,
mean,
I haven't either.
like that could be cool too, to just like host videos in there or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're coming up on the 2 hour mark, so we should probably start wrapping it up. Ouch. Does anybody have any um, last minute thoughts or things that we didn't talk about, or things to promote, or things and things and things?
Um, no,
Scrublord
I'd say
1963 said, "We are Legion."
Indeed, we are.
absolutely, absolutely.
That concept is kind of where our name came from, because
Mm,
we are many, and we're here. We're not fucking going nowhere.
nope. No rocks for us to hide or crawl under. You're kind of stuck with us.
They're probably all linked to Google and listening, anyways.
That's right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Give them a minute; they'll find a way. If
Exactly.
they haven't already, they'll be tapping the rocks. Um,
Totally. No. Thank you guys for having me. If you want to check me out, my name's Nathan Bosick. Also, at Rain909 on Twitter, and that's about it.
very base Twitter feed there, y'all. You'll find some interesting shit. It's good at educating.
Thank you.
Speaking of which, Nate, you should, if you would like to, I should say, you can feel free to build out our Twitter, which we also stream to. I don't know how video on Twitter works. It never seems like we have any viewers, but yeah,
Let's up that
it
viewer count
needs,
then.
yeah, it needs some TLC.
Word.
Right.
Yeah. I'd be
I seem to
I'd be
be
happy to.
incompetent at Twitter.
Same. Like, I can read through the
It's
feeds.
a
I still get confused even trying to reply, and I'm like, wait, which button was it? It's trying to do some other shit. Um,
yeah. No,
not
I know what you mean. The way that everything cascades and the way everything branches is like really strange. So I
Yeah,
feel you on that bit for sure.
yep. It's weird.
but
But yeah, I'd be happy to do that. I can definitely ensure that we've got some content to go around to all of our viewers. That'd be cool.
Hell yeah.
yeah. Yeah, actually, well, okay, so Natalie said Metaverse is flagging some of my posts with fact checkers in favor of what mainstream media says is true, and it's not the truth. Uh, there's been a pretty prevalent, like, example of that, lately with the flag saying that inflation is not caused by corporate greed, even though
Right. I saw
like
that. Yeah.
fucking look at it.
They're like, no, it was the $1,200 check that did it. And it's like, what? Amazing.
Oh man. That just made me think of Dean's like circular discussion about when the Democrats are proposing uh, a $2,000 check, and then
Yeah.
when they approve that $1,800 check, it's going to go to the House, and then that $1,600 check.
Right. Right.
That's what happened. That's literally what happened, though.
Yeah.
And the Build Back Better thing was literally no different. It started off at what, six trillion and ended up being like 1.5, and now they still can't even get it passed. It's like, dude, forget it. And nobody gives a shit about infrastructure. Nobody gives a shit about, education, or, you know, further ensuring that the littlest and most disenfranchised of us have things like decent internet. Nobody gives a shit anymore. Your toilets, your sewage, fuck it. That bridge over there that you have to cross every day to get to work, who cares? It's amazing, man.
All right, hold on. We gotta.
Ritual.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hold on.
Let's back up to where the shit started. Yeah, there we go. Because okay, first of all, I'd love to point out to you that it is quite arguable as far as who's the real fucking bad guy in the Bible, because Yahweh is a sociopathic cunt that you would have to run away from to a women's shelter. Okay, so I'm totally okay with that. I don't care if somebody wants to try to compare people to their fucking imaginary shit of demons because we say we are many. Let's move forward where you try to falsely excuse inflation here. Okay, shut the fuck up because you're clearly
Hold on. I'm
sucker
going to find a little
want to
common ground
defend
here.
corporate greed here. Um,
Yeah, that I'm
inflation.
not trying to do. That I'm not trying to do. But he's right. Inflation probably is closer to 15%. I'll even go so far as to say he's right. Inflation has been caused by the Fed printing money into the stock market and the
Yes,
Yeah.
that's it. Not to the
Yeah.
defense
not
budget.
these
Not to the
piddly ass
people.
checks going to the people so that we can fucking survive is
Yeah.
not the problem. The fucking trillions being pumped into the hands of the wealthiest motherfuckers in this country is the problem. And on your next fucking comment, this is where I'm going, fuck you, this is a lie. Saying corporate greed is not a cause of inflation, that's a deluded thought. Motherfucker, check yourself.
Bro.
Corporate greed absolutely is the cause of inflation. Inflation is just this bullshit fucking word that they put on it to fucking try to sugarcoat a goddamn turd and try to fucking say, see, it's just an ebb and flow of the fucking market. It's not. These motherfuckers are reporting record fucking profit margin
Mm-hmm.
explosions. Okay. And they're
And where do
trying
you
to
think they're getting that
like,
record
oh, it
profit
must be
from?
that people want a higher wage. No, no, that's not it at all. This is definitely fucking corporate greed, and it's only being called by a different fucking name. Come back to reality before you try to fucking jump in our shit, trolling the fuck out of our show. Because now it took me a minute. I was thinking, where did I see this fucking name before? And it's the last time that you felt like coming here just to run your right wing cocksucker. So on that
Oh
note,
no! When we're done playing this cat and mouse game, I'm going to ban him, and that's how I know that he didn't troll us. He trolled the State and Revolution stream that we did with Zach.
Ah,
He
ah,
yes. Yeah,
bread
that's right.
theory.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know
So
this
real
fucking
quick,
familiar.
Scrub
Like,
Lord.
wait a fucking minute.
Real quick, Scrub Lord.
Dude, you're
You
defending
understand.
corporatists. You are right wing. If you still have that fucking mentality of
Yeah.
defending corporatist shit and trying to fucking excuse it and sugarcoat that big fat fucking turd that you're trying to float past our faces, then you are not done detoxing your fucking mind from just that right there. It is a left right thing. And the only place where you're going to find fucking ethics about this shit anymore is on the left. And that starts with anti capitalism. So fuck that shit.
Real quick,
Those are
I
fucks.
got to say something to him. Hey, Scrub Lord, you understand that the Fed and the additional printings of monies are cause for inflation. But what you're not understanding is that when you print $6 trillion and none of it actually gets to go into the economy because it's all being held by corporate
The
fat
rich.
cats in order to get
All it did was
what do
cause
you
a
think that
burp in the
does?
fucking stock market. It burped and then it went right back to where it had been. It made zero impact. If those trillions of dollars had been given to the people who they actually belong to, because
It would
let's be
actually be
honest,
in the
the government
economy.
doesn't have any fucking thing of its own. The only fucking funds it actually has is our fucking tax dollars or that debt right there that they burden us with future fucking tax dollars because they are levying those loans against what they expect us to produce in our fucking lifetime. So that's not their
Correct.
money to fuck with and play with in the fucking stock market. Fuck the stock market. As this golden fucking meme says that I just found last week and was like, that's so goddamn accurate. The stock market is nothing but a fucking graph of rich people's feelings. Fuck the stock market. That money
Well,
should
he
be
also implied that we don't know what fucking quantitative easing is, but he's demonstrating that he doesn't know what the velocity of money is. So,
right.
I mean,
Right.
You're literally showing us where, how, and why you don't actually know what you're talking about because you'll pull out, like, oh, here's one thing that's correct, like that difference in the fucking inflation rate, and then follow it with bullshit that is nothing but right wing talking points.
Which
So,
that kind of motive is typical of right wing. We see it in their conspiracy theories all the
right,
time. Little bitty smidge of truth, and then back it up
just
with a
enough to get
whole
people
bunch of
reeled in.
bullshit.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Good try
then
though,
they
bro. Good try.
a bunch
you
of
also
ignorant
said wallowing in your
don't know
ideology.
economics.
Yeah, right. Wallowing
Yeah,
in
you
your
said that
ideology all
last
you
week,
want. It
and we
doesn't
just
really
had a big
matter.
giggle over
Reality.
it. Oh my
What?
God, this guy's saying he's saying we should do stand up. That's the same line that he thought was a dig the last time. It's still lame. You can do better if you're going to try to insult us. At least fucking entertain us.
Oh my
Oh, wait, I'm not
Clown
feeding
world,
the
man.
troll. The troll's feeding me. This is hilarious. Like, I love it when we get trolls because I'm just like, are you fucking shitting me? Like, maybe we can have a chance at educating your ass and waking you the fuck up.
Yeah, okay, so Zach, this is kind of what I was trying to get to, but I never got to get there. You couldn't accurately describe any of the ideologies we hold.
That right there, because he's completely ignorant to him. He doesn't even understand the basis of our thought processes, let alone just the basics of how economics work and what bullshit they put into it that is pretty much just to make it sound like, see, this is just normal fucking shit, and we're gonna call it this pretty fucking label that everybody accepts. They'll swallow it deep and fucking hard. Because if we actually called it what it really is, like inflation is nothing but corporate greed, then people would go, oh, fuck, that's not okay. You can't be honest with people and expect them to still suck the corporate cock when they're being told that this is corporate greed. It's corporate greed across the fucking board. There's no goddamn excuse for these motherfuckers who haven't even bothered to raise the wages for their employees to be trying to blame inflation on that when
Oh,
it's
shit.
really their enormous profit margins that they're fucking reporting exponential fucking percentage rate growth on. And that right there, since you're probably unaware of this, fucking scrub lord, profit margins are unpaid wages.
Yeah, you
Chew
think
on that
taxes
one.
are bad. Wait until you understand that.
Yeah, yeah, really.
Right.
He's referring to the labor theory of value if you want to, try Googling that. But
Yeah. wild stuff, man. That's wild.
Right. Polls are always fun.
Yeah,
Zach
I
said this
think
is
I'm
what he
just
always
gonna.
runs away when he gets pushed back. Yeah.
I think I'm. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and fucking.
That's okay. It's
Just
fucking
block him.
hilarious.
Hold on. What do we got? What's he saying?
We blame all of the evil rich, not just the Republican ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Time out. Really?
Either.
Really?
But
Really?
I'm calling you
Wow.
a Republican because you're literally spewing Republican talking points. And it's
Yeah.
fucking hilarious.
I mean,
Look,
hold on.
we understand the Fed is
If you
evil.
say
Now, guys.
something to chew on, let's jump right to the fact that you're a liberal.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how conservative you are, you're still a liberal.
Right. Why? Because neoliberalism is all of that pro-capitalist shit. All of it. To truly be on the left starts with being anti-capitalist. No, I call you a Republic cunt because cunt can't understand normal thinking. Chew on that too, buddy.
A
I don't care
republic
what
cock.
gender you have in your fucking pants. If you can't understand normal thinking, you're a cunt. And you can't. Clearly, by the shit you've said. So, thanks for the entertainment once again. It's great. It's golden.
He does have some decent point. I'm still gonna hit blacklist because I'm done.
Yeah, for real. Bye,
There
Script
we
Lord.
go.
Enjoy, bro.
It's another point of like a tiny amount of truth backed up with a bunch of bullshit though. Like we're fucking totally aware that they're doing the same thing in Europe as the USA. We call them out too. We
Yeah.
call them out
Yeah.
too, okay? Capitalist shit is capitalist shit. And we're just gonna call it out regardless of who the fucking capitalist uh, regardless of who they are. It doesn't fucking matter. If you're a capitalist
Yeah.
fucking we're gonna call you out.
Elon
Yeah.
Musk, Bill Gates, all of them. They all get the same treatment. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're right or left because both the right and left are essentially center in the United States. We don't have an actual left wing. It doesn't
Right.
exist.
I
Which
want to
is why
address
we
what
have to be
Natalie
legion.
just. Right. I want to do. Did we just lose Nate? I want to do. I clicked the wrong comment. Natalie. Damn it.
I don't know if he's really interested in learning and listening though, because he's just fucking coming at us.
Exactly.
What the fuck you're talking about because of this thing I haven't looked up.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Please don't try to educate us from your point of ignorance. It's not going to work. We're going to keep laughing at you. You know, that's it's fucking just so it sheds light on where this frame of mind even fucking comes from when it's like, oh, this person swallowed every fucking line of bullshit they've been fed. And they're like, yeah, that sounds great. That fucking backs up my confirmation bias and I'm going to fucking roll with it. I'm not even going to look to see if it's valid.
Rather than actually pointing out, the individuals and the corporations that are responsible for all this shit, he would rather sit there and be like, oh no, it's the deep state and the Illuminati and the Bible told me so.
God damn it.
So,
Right.
yeah,
Right. Well, when
forget
he
him.
opened with
Fuck him.
Bible, I don't know if you guys saw me just sitting here fucking smirking, just waiting for you to wrap up what you were talking about. Like okay, this is gonna be fun. Like, I don't give a flying fuck what the Bible condemns when it condones rape,
Slavery, rape,
and murder,
yep.
all kinds of shit. So that's just opening a fucking can of worms, and I'm like, all right, motherfucker, let's dive into it.
Just thought, hey,
Yeah,
guess
anyway.
what? Jesus was a communist.
He was. He was. And James, I don't know if I go so far as like beating him up, like knocking his fucking teeth out or something, but at least slap, like listen up. But I think he might have felt that that's what he ran. But you know,
Just
it's what
just to slap to make sure the lights are on. Just ding ding ding.
right,
You know.
right. Like, excuse
Yeah.
me, wake
All
up,
right.
motherfucker.
That was that was a pretty awesome piece. Thank you, guys.
Right, that was hilarious.
I will let you all go. I love
Fucking
you
great
all.
way to wrap up the show. Love you,
Right.
Nate.
See you all next time.
Okie smoky.
Indeed, I'm just bringing up the thing. You know, the thing.
The thing, the music, and yeah,
The thing.
sometimes I do that. I got a fucking mouth on me. There is no filter for when it comes to shit like that, especially. And yeah, people who try to justify capitalist bullshit fucking lines of why they need to bend us over and fuck us that much harder up the ass without any lube, the kid gloves come off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isaac.
Anyway, keep an eye out on our social media platforms for, well, hopefully for the growth of our Twitter. We'll have more on that soon. And Discord. There we go. That was the other thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I definitely want to thank you all for joining us tonight.
Fuck yes. Y'all are diehards. I love seeing you guys in here every fucking week. It's beautiful.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Did you find the thing?
Did.
Those vocals right there, those beautiful vocals, that is Lord fucking Sterling himself. Don't forget it's DJ Rob after dark. Rob this motherfucker around, y'all.
Reflections. We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents. Just don't worry about it. Learn how to use